Now, from Kansas City's breaking news leader, this is NBC Action News.
I feel they probably have the right guy, and it's a huge relief.
Relief after months of living in fear. Tonight, answers in the Waldo rapist investigation. A break in the case women around Kansas City have spent more than a year waiting for. Prosecutors announced charges in the Waldo rapist investigation. Mark Clegg was there for the announcement. He joins us now live. Mark?
Elizabeth, Bernard Jackson is now charged with 2 of the 5 rape cases that took place in the Waldo area in 2009 and in 2010. Chris Hernandez has covered the case extensively. We were in court together. They spent about a year putting these 2 cases together. Let's talk about what they have.
Yeah, we both looked over some of these court documents that were revealed today, which reveal some new and very violent details about 2 of the attacks. Police say that in both cases, the suspect, Bernard Jackson, broke into the women's homes and then assaulted the victims repeatedly. He also blindfolded them. He tied their hands behind their back and blindfolded them. As police and prosecutors announced the 22 new charges against the suspected serial rapist, 2 neighborhood women who came to watch were pleased even though the charges involve only 2 of the 5 attacks.
He obviously is a person of interest, and I feel they probably have the right guy, and it's a huge relief.
I'm just thrilled for the victims that sounds like the evidence that they gave indicates that they have a pretty good case. I don't think they would have filed it lightly.
Court documents reveal 3 keys to solving these 2 cases. A couple of weeks ago, a match came back from the lab, linking DNA evidence recovered from a lotion bottle and a shirt used to tie up the victim. Second, tan work boots in Jackson's work locker matched a shoe print found at a crime scene. And last May, one victim identified Jackson in a lineup.
I hope that today's charges, in addition to the cold cases that were filed back in May, will dissipate the fears that plague the residents of our city in the Waldo neighborhood.
Police have had Bernard Jackson in custody, charged with assaults from the 1980s for 9 months, and the recent rape cases happened a year ago. So why did it take so long to file these charges?
The defendant was not at large, and so we had the luxury of time of looking at these cases and working them from every angle possible and making sure that we were dotting all our I's and crossing all our T's.
Authorities say they don't have enough evidence yet to charge Jackson in the other 3 cases. When Jackson was arrested for those cold cases dating back to the 80s, at that time, about 9 months ago, police said that he was a person of interest in all 5 of the newer rape cases, and there was, of course, some discussion that we heard about that today.
It was a big part of the news coverage today, I think, because people want to know the charges for the 2 cases. As the prosecutor told us, they would be multiple life sentences if he's found guilty, but those 3 remaining cases brought a lot of questions, and people want to know where those go from here.
Yeah, Kanatzar was asked very specifically about that, and he was very careful with his language. He refused to say that Jackson was a suspect in the other 3 cases or even a person of interest, but then he turned around and said he is, the language they used a year or 9 months ago still applies. So read what you want to into that. Apparently good evidence in 2 of the cases, maybe not such good evidence in the other 3.
And they do continue, though, to investigate those other 3. All right, Chris Hernandez, thank you very much.
Sure.
Now, the Waldo area experienced just about every emotion possible during the time of these rapes in 2009 and 2010. Lisa Benson was in the neighborhood today when the news of these charges was announced. Lisa?
Well, right now, Waldo residents are relieved that the man accused of terrorizing their community has now been charged for his crime. Now, last year, the owner of Kennedy's Bar and Grill held a fundraiser to help up the reward fund to offer even more money to the person who came forward with the information that led to the arrest. And we'll hear from him new at 6. Reporting live in Waldo, Lisa Benson, NBC Action News.
Okay. All right, now we move on here today. Here's an idea of just what it took investigators to build their case. 22 officers and 4 sergeants put in more than 10,000 man-hours following up 955 tips they received. They took in 10,000 pages of police reports. Nearly 1 year later, prosecutors were finally able to file charges in 2 of the 5 cases. Now, this is a look at just how close in proximity to each other these 1980s cold case rapes rapes were to the most recent rapes. The red dots are the 1980 cold cases. The blue dots are the recent cases, which Jackson has faced charges for the 2009 and 2010 in 2 of those cases. Bernard Jackson has been charged again with 2 of those 5 recent cases. Now, Jackson does have a long criminal background. In 1976, he admitted he raped a Kansas City woman. In the 1980s, he was charged but not prosecuted in a rape in Sacramento, California. He is charged with 4 rapes in the Waldo-area and the Armour Hills neighborhood from the 1980s. And St. Joseph police are also looking into whether the statute of limitations has run out for their 1970s rape cases that they are looking at him for there. Now, wrapping up our top story coverage tonight, Bernard Jackson now faces 22 additional charges. Besides 4 cold case rapes from the 1980s, he's now charged with 2 of the 5 rapes in and around Waldo from 2009 and 2010. Police say they're still investigating the other 3 rapes, and that investigation continues in each of those cases. They are asking for a person who called the TIPS hotline in January following the January 23rd rape with specific information about a car parked in that area to call again. Tips to the TIPS hotline are anonymous, and they would like to speak to that person. You're asked to call the TIPS hotline if you are that person who called in that tip. Investigators think they could have more information that could help them as they file more charges. Now, we have taken this entire news conference with the charges as well as the probable cause statements. You'll find all of that on our website, NBCActionNews.com. Elizabeth?
Mark, I would imagine this is just a huge relief for the present-day victims, too. Did prosecutors say how they're doing at this point?
You know, that was a big issue in the news conference. A lot of the reporters wanted to know how those victims are doing. They didn't speak about them in the news conference, and they were very careful in talking about them. They say they're still protecting their confidences and their identities. They did tell us they've been keeping them abreast of what's been going on over the last couple of months, and specifically in the last 2 weeks, they said they had the point of the break in the case. They've been keeping them up to date, and they say they are doing as well as could be expected. Elizabeth?
All right, Mark Clegg, thank you very much.